What if I told you that every morning, right after you wake up, you could be making a silent mistake that's slowly damaging your manhood? Not through what you eat or how much you sleep, but through something far more personal. I'm talking about how you masturbate. Yes, the private habit no one wants to discuss. But here's the shocking truth. Many older men, perhaps even you, are unknowingly harming their prostate, weakening their blood flow, and dulling their sexual vitality, simply by doing this one thing wrong in the morning. I'm Dr. Rena. For over 30 years, I've helped older men across America protect and revive their sexual health. And time after time, I've seen how a few innocent mistakes, especially in the way men pleasure themselves, can lead to fatigue, poor erections, and emotional disconnect from their partners. You see, the real danger isn't the act itself. It's in the timing, the technique, and the neglect of a body that has changed with age. Most men are stuck in old patterns that no longer serve them. Today, I'll show you 4 critical mistakes men over 60 often make in the morning, and how changing them could restore energy, intimacy, and confidence. One of them might surprise you, and it's the one that's harming the most. Keep listening. Before we begin, if you care about protecting your sexual health and staying strong as you age, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell, so you never miss a doctor-backed tip made specifically for men over 60. And if this message speaks to you, type 1 in the comments. If it doesn't, type 0. I'm here to serve you better. All right, let's get into it. The first dangerous mistake many older men make when masturbating in the morning is one that feels harmless, even relaxing. But over time, it quietly chips away at your energy, your hormones, and your overall vitality. Most don't even realize it's a mistake, but once you understand what's really happening inside your body, you'll never see it the same way again. Let me explain. Mistake 1, rushing into morning masturbation without preparing your body. This is one of the most overlooked mistakes I've seen in my decades of practice, and yet it's one of the most common. You wake up, maybe still groggy, and without a second thought, you go straight into pleasuring yourself. It feels natural, automatic even, but what most men don't realize is that your body just spent 6 to 8 hours in a completely different physiological state. Your heart rate is low, your blood circulation is slower, your joints are stiff, and your nervous system is only beginning to wake up. And yet, without warming up your body or properly getting your blood flowing, you demand one of the most energy-intensive and vascular responses it can offer, a sexual response. Now here's where the real damage begins, especially for men over 60. Unlike in your 20s, your blood vessels now respond more slowly. Your testosterone is more delicate, and your prostate is more sensitive. When you stimulate yourself immediately after waking, without stretching, moving, or hydrating, you put your system under unnecessary strain. This often leads to weaker erections, inconsistent orgasms, and over time, even a sense of fatigue or moodiness afterward. And no, this isn't just psychological, it's physiological. Let me share something personal. I had a patient in his early 70s, a proud, active man who still had a healthy drive but started noticing that his energy would crash by mid-morning after self-pleasuring. He thought it was just aging, but after some deeper conversation, I discovered he had this exact habit. Going straight into masturbation first thing in the morning without getting out of bed, drinking water, or moving around at all. Once I asked him to try something different, get up, stretch lightly, drink a glass of water, take a few deep breaths, and wait at least 15 to 20 minutes before beginning, his entire experience shifted. His energy stabilized, his mood improved, and his erections even felt stronger and more sustained. Why? Because when you take a moment to prepare your body, you allow your blood flow to regulate, your mind to clear, and your hormones to balance. You set the stage for pleasure, rather than forcing your system to perform while still half asleep. It's not just about feeling good in the moment. It's about protecting your long-term health, your energy, and your manhood. So the next time you wake up with that familiar urge, pause. Give your body the respect it deserves. You're not in your 20s anymore, and that's not a bad thing. It just means being smarter with your habits. And as powerful as this first mistake is, the second one may be even more dangerous because it's not about your body, it's about your mind. And it's something I guarantee most older men have never even questioned. Let's talk about it. Mistake 2, using porn first thing in the morning. Let's be honest, porn is everywhere now. One tap on a phone, and you're flooded with images that didn't exist when you were younger. For many older men, it's become a morning ritual. Wake up, reach for the phone, find something arousing, and use it to jumpstart the day. It feels harmless. It feels familiar. But the truth is, this simple habit is slowly rewiring your brain, and not in a good way. I say this not to judge, but to help you understand what's really happening inside. You see, when you stimulate yourself with porn right after waking, you're bypassing your body's natural rhythm. Your brain hasn't had time to orient itself, and suddenly it's being bombarded with artificial dopamine spikes, chemicals that flood your system when you're overstimulated by exaggerated images and fantasy. These images are not based on real connection or touch, and your brain knows that, but it still reacts, powerfully and automatically. I remember one of my patients, a widower in his late 60s. He told me he used porn every morning because it felt like a way to escape his loneliness. At first, it gave him relief, a moment of pleasure in a quiet house. But slowly, over the months, he began to notice something. His drive wasn't the same when he tried to be with someone in real life. He felt numb, emotionally flat, like his body didn't respond unless he had those intense, screen-driven images. That's not aging, that's overstimulation. Morning porn use creates a dangerous loop. The brain becomes conditioned to expect extreme stimulation just to feel aroused. That means regular intimacy, simple touch, slow connection, the warmth of a partner starts to feel dull. You lose sensitivity, you lose presence, and with time, you lose the emotional spark that makes intimacy meaningful. What's worse, this pattern drains your dopamine reserves early in the day, leaving you foggy, tired, or even slightly irritable by afternoon. You think you're starting your day with power, but you're actually depleting your most vital energy resource, mental clarity and emotional drive. When I suggested to that same patient to try a few mornings without porn, just using his own imagination, focusing on how his body felt in the moment, it was awkward at first, but within a few weeks, he said something that stuck with me. It's like I got my mind back. I feel more alive. And that's the point. Porn isn't evil, but when it becomes a crutch, especially first thing in the morning, it robs you of your natural desire, your mental focus, and your deeper connection to self and others. But even if you avoid this mistake, there's another that could be harming your body in ways you can't see. Something most men do without thinking, but over time, it places silent strain on one of the most sensitive organs you have. Let's talk about that next. Mistake 3. Applying too much pressure or friction to the penis. This is the one that surprises most men, especially those who have been in the habit for decades. You figure it's just part of the process. Grip firmly, get it done, release the tension. But after the age of 60, the tissues in your penis, your nerves, and even your circulatory system become more delicate. And the way you stimulate yourself, specifically how much pressure and friction you use, can either support your long-term function or slowly break it down. I've had so many older men tell me they use a firm grip or fast, intense strokes because they feel less sensitivity than they did when they were younger. That makes sense. Testosterone declines with age and blood flow slows. But here's the catch. When you apply too much pressure, especially repeatedly, you're not increasing pleasure. You're actually desensitizing the very nerves you're trying to awaken. One man I worked with, he was 68, recently divorced, trying to stay connected to his sexual energy, told me it had become harder for him to feel much during masturbation. So he gripped tighter, stroked faster, hoping it would make things more intense. But over time, things went the opposite way. Orgasms became weaker, erections took longer to arrive, and he found himself needing more and more stimulation just to feel something. It wasn't until I asked him to completely rethink how he touched himself that things changed. Instead of pressure, I asked him to focus on sensation, slow things down, use less friction, more awareness, try a feather-light touch, different angles, even breath work while touching. At first, it felt awkward to him, too gentle, too soft. But within a month, he said something to me I'll never forget. It's like my body is finally listening again. I didn't know I could feel this much. The penis isn't just a muscle. It's an organ filled with thousands of sensitive nerve endings and fine blood vessels. When you treat it roughly, especially day after day, you create micro-trauma. You may not feel it immediately, but over time it contributes to erectile dysfunction, loss of sensation, and even pain or soreness during or after climax. Think of it like skin. Rub it too hard, too often, and it becomes raw, dry, or even damaged. Your sexual health deserves gentleness, especially now. So if you've been using force or rushing through the act, I urge you to rethink your approach. Because it's not about how hard or fast, it's about how deeply and fully you're connected to your own body. Slow, mindful, intentional touch does more for your long-term function than years of rough, mindless repetition. And as critical as this is, the next mistake may be the most quietly destructive of all, because it has nothing to do with how you touch yourself and everything to do with what you do immediately after. Most men skip this step, and it costs them more than they know. Let's dive into that next. Mistake 4, ignoring recovery after ejaculation. This is the one almost no one talks about, and yet it may be the most important for older men. You see, when you climax, especially first thing in the morning, your body enters a brief but intense shift. Hormones surge, your heart rate elevates, and then, in an instant, everything crashes. Your nervous system transitions into recovery mode, and that recovery is crucial. But if you simply finish and move on, jump in the shower, rush to coffee, scroll your phone, or head straight into your day, you're missing a key part of the process your body desperately needs. When I was younger in my practice, I never paid much attention to what men did after climax. But as I began working more with patients in their 60s, 70s, even their 80s, I started noticing a pattern. Those who took just a few minutes to rest, breathe, and reset after ejaculation felt calmer, more focused, and even more energetic as the day went on. The ones who didn't, they often described feeling foggy, irritable, or completely drained by mid-morning. And they didn't know why. One man in his mid-70s had a habit of finishing quickly and immediately jumping into his daily to-do list. He told me it felt efficient. Get the urge out of the way, get moving. But over time, his energy plummeted. He lost interest in sex altogether. It wasn't until we talked about post-ejaculatory recovery that something clicked for him. I asked him to treat the time after climax as sacred. Don't rush, lie still for a few minutes. Feel your breath. Let your body catch up to what just happened. He did, and within weeks, he started noticing a difference. Not just in how he felt, but in his clarity, his mood, and surprisingly, his desire started to return. You see, as you age, ejaculation takes more from your system. It's not just about release. It's about how you rebuild your energy afterward. And when you ignore that, it creates a slow wear and tear on your nervous system. You may not notice it today, but over time it adds up, leaving you tired, disconnected, even anxious without knowing the real reason why. Recovery doesn't have to be elaborate. It's about being present, taking a few deep breaths, letting your body know it's safe to relax, maybe even placing your hand on your chest or abdomen and grounding yourself in stillness. That moment of reflection, of calm, becomes the difference between a draining experience and a rejuvenating one, between feeling depleted or feeling at peace. And now that you know the 4 morning mistakes that could be silently harming your body, the question becomes, what should you do instead? What steps can you take today to protect your energy, restore your sexual vitality, and feel like yourself again? What comes next may surprise you, and it might just change everything. What you need to do today. So now that you've heard the 4 dangerous mistakes, the natural question is, what should you actually do, starting today, to protect your body, your mind, and your sexual vitality? The truth is, change doesn't require a complete overhaul of your life. It begins with awareness, followed by small, intentional actions that respect the way your body has changed with age. And if you're a man over 60, your body is speaking to you in new ways. The key is learning how to listen. First, give yourself permission to slow down in the morning. Don't rush into stimulation or reach for your phone out of habit. Instead, start your day by reconnecting with your breath. Sit up slowly, stretch your arms, move your legs, and give your circulation time to catch up with your mind. Even just 5 minutes of gentle movement and hydration before any sexual activity can completely shift how your body responds. Second, if you feel the urge to masturbate, don't shame yourself. But do make a conscious choice about how and when. Set the mood. Turn off distractions, avoid screens, especially pornography, and choose presence over pressure. Use touch that is kind, exploratory, and patient. You're not in a race. You're building intimacy with yourself in a way that can actually enhance your energy instead of draining it. Next, pay attention to how you finish. Don't just walk away from your body after climax. Take a few minutes to lie still, breathe, and let your system return to balance. Think of it like landing a plane. You wouldn't just jump out midair. You glide down gently, safely. That simple act of mindfulness, of giving yourself space to rest after release, can be a powerful practice that restores your strength over time. And finally, be honest with yourself. Ask, what do I want from this part of my life? Is it just release? Or is it connection, peace, confidence, vitality? The way you touch yourself, the way you treat your body is an answer to that question. I've seen men in their 70s and 80s transform their energy, not because they gave up sexuality, but because they redefined it. They stopped treating their body like a machine and started honoring it like a partner. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to be present, because it's not too late, not by a long shot. You still have time to feel strong, clear, and alive again. Now that you know what to do, the only thing left is this. Will you actually do it? In the final moments of this video, I want to leave you with a truth that most men never hear, and it could be the reason your best years are still ahead of you. Let's wrap this up together. Conclusion. If you've made it this far, I want to take a moment to say something personal. As a doctor who's worked with thousands of men over the past 30 years, I can tell you with certainty, your age does not define your vitality. It doesn't determine your worth as a man, your capacity for pleasure, or your ability to feel connected to yourself, to your partner, to life. What matters more than age is awareness, and today, you've taken a big step toward that. We covered a lot. 4 common but harmful mistakes men over 60 often make during morning masturbation. We talked about how rushing into it without preparing your body can leave you feeling drained and disconnected. We explored how relying on porn first thing in the morning can condition your mind to crave intensity instead of intimacy. We looked at how too much pressure or friction can silently damage your sensitivity and create long-term challenges. And we dug into how ignoring recovery after climax can strip away the calm and strength your body needs to carry you through the day. But more importantly, we talked about what you can do right now, today, to shift your habits, reconnect with your body, and create a new standard for how you treat yourself as a man in this stage of life. These changes don't have to be overwhelming. They don't require you to give up pleasure. In fact, they're about enhancing it, deepening it, making it something that gives back to you instead of leaving you feeling depleted or distant. I know it's not easy, especially if you've been carrying these habits for years, even decades. It can feel strange to do things differently, but that's okay. Growth never feels comfortable in the beginning. The men I've worked with who made the most progress weren't the ones who got everything right. They were the ones who stayed curious, who stayed open, and who stopped treating their bodies like problems that needed fixing, and started treating them like relationships that needed attention. You deserve to feel good in your own skin. You deserve mornings filled with clarity and calm, not confusion or regret. You deserve to feel connected, not just sexually, but emotionally and spiritually, to yourself, to your partner, to life itself. So if you've heard something today that struck a chord, don't ignore it. Take one small step, make one small change. That's all it takes to start a shift. Because this chapter of your life can be one of the most powerful, most grounded, and most meaningful you've ever lived, but only if you choose it. And if no one has told you this lately, let me be the one to say it now. You are not too old, you are not too late, and you are not alone. Thank you for spending this time with me. I'm honored to be part of your journey.